Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Golf 101. So, if you missed our last episode, go check that out. In the last one, we talked all about posture and a little bit of the setup in the golf swing. Today, we're going to get into weight distribution and balance in the golf swing. So, as we know, balance is a very important part of the golf swing. And if you checked out my video a little while ago on short game and chipping, you'll know that balance and the way that your weight is distributed uh, just directly correlates to where the low point of your golf swing is, where the club is going to make contact with the ground, which we need to be right near the golf ball for us to take a well contacted golf shot and to execute properly with what we want to do in the golf swing. So, just as a refresher, wherever our center of balance is going to determine where the golf club hits the ground. So, since our golf swing is moving on an arc, the lowest point of that arc is going to be wherever most of our weight is over. So if we have more of our weight near our back foot, we're going to see the club hit the ground closer to our back foot. And the opposite is true. If we go to the front foot, the weight will be near the front foot and the golf club will make contact with the ground near the front foot. So what we want to do is, as a general rule of thumb, we want our center of gravity at impact to be right near where the golf ball is. So if we set up with the golf ball near the front of our stance, we want more of our weight near the front. If we set up with the golf ball near the back of the stance, we want more of the weight near the back. Uh, in a future episode, we're going to talk about ball position itself, but for now, this is our general rule of thumb for where we want our weight to be near the golf ball when we are approaching the golf ball at impact. So obviously, to strike a golf ball well, we want to hit the golf ball and then the ground. So we want this low point and we want our center of gravity to be at the golf ball or slightly ahead of it. So if we set up with the golf ball right in the middle of our stance, we can either set up with our weight 50-50 if we are consistently striking the ball well, or if we're chunking it a little bit, that means our weight's getting a little far back when we're coming into impact. So we might want to adjust and put a little bit more weight on our front foot as we begin the golf swing, as we set up to the golf ball, in order to counteract that shift backwards and to help us to keep our weight forward as we approach impact in order to hit ball first and make better contact with the golf ball. And of course, weight distribution in the setup doesn't necessarily dictate where our low point will be at impact. Our center of gravity is going to move throughout the golf swing. So we could start with our weight all the way up here, and when we get an impact, we could be way back here. We could start with our weight back here, and at impact be way up here. So the big thing to realize is, even though we might set up a certain way, that doesn't necessarily guarantee that our weight is going to be there at impact. A lot of things move around in the golf swing, and our weight and our center of gravity is one of those. But if we want to have a consistent feel for where we're hitting the ball, where our low point is, our weight distribution is a good indicator of where that's going to be. And if we're starting to see certain trends, we might need to look at our weight distribution and see, are we making a shift one way or the other that might be negatively impacting where our low point is at impact. Now that we have that out of the way for a flat lie, let's get into some of the different side hill, uphill, or downhill lies you might see on the golf course, and kind of what this might do for your low point and for your weight distribution, and how we should best approach these situations. So oftentimes, one of the things I'll see from my students is they'll get on like an uphill or a downhill lie, and they will be so worried about chunking the ball or thinning the ball that they will really just overcompensate for where their weight is. They have practiced and they've taken lessons and seen that weight distribution really impacts the low point of the golf swing, and they'll do this on the range. They'll test out different kind of feels with where their weight should be at setup and at impact, and then they get on these different hilly lies here, and their brain just starts thinking like, okay, my tendency is to chunk the ball, so I need to put my weight way far forward. So this is not necessarily the case. With different hill lies, our weight distribution is going to drastically change, and we want to make sure that we kind of make the correct adjustment for whatever kind of lie that we have, instead of just blindly thinking, okay, I am on a hill, I need my weight to be all the way one way or the other. It's really going to depend on the type of lie we have and kind of the situation that we're in. So my general rule of thumb that I tell all my students is, when we are on any kind of hilly lie, we want to try to match the slope with our feet, our hips, and our shoulders. If you think back to our alignment video, Everything with the feet, the hips, and the shoulders, we all want to be parallel. And this is true both when we're looking left to right directionally and when we're looking up and down directionally. So if we have a situation where we are on a lie, a side hill lie or something, and we put all of our weight on our front foot, but our shoulders are not aligned with that, and our hips are not aligned with that, it can cause a lot of issues with kind of different things going on with the motion of our golf swing and everything kind of being out of sync, not really connected, and can cause a few issues with just the overall golf swing. So step one is matching the slope of the hill with the way our body is aligned. So for instance, if I have an uphill lie, if I'm hitting this way and my slope is like this, I want to get a little bit more weight on my back foot, and I want to make sure my hips and my shoulders also move in this same way. I want everything to be pointed in the exact same direction. Same is true with a downhill lie. I want a little bit more weight on the front foot, everything else pointed down. And side hill lies are a little more tricky, but if I'm going this way and I have the ball below my feet, a little bit more weight in the toes and a little bit more of a lean forward. And then if I have the ball above my feet, I want a little bit more weight in the heels and I want to be kind of angled back a tiny bit. We don't want to overdo this in either of these situations, but we want to make sure that we kind of match up the slope that we're hitting off of to the body alignment that we have. So why is it important to kind of match the slope in our body alignment? So we want to imitate hitting off of a flat lie. If we have an uphill lie and we're going to put our weight on our back foot and kind of try to match this slope, we're going to try to make it so where the club is coming through the ball and the club is acting off of a flat surface. So we're going to have to get the club moving up a little quicker. And to do this, we're going to have to shift our weight so that way the club can pass through the ball just like it would on a flat lie, but instead going up. We're really trying to interact with the turf the same way we would with a flat lie like on the range, just a little differently with the way we set up to it and execute this shot. And then the last thing we want to know is how these different lies affect the way the ball is going to fly. So a good rule of thumb here is that whichever way the slope is pointed is kind of the way that the golf ball is going to come off the club face a little bit. So if we have an uphill lie, ball is generally going to fly a little higher. If we have a downhill lie, ball is going to fly a little lower. And then the side hill lies are going to start the ball in that direction a little more. The big thing here, especially with the downhill lies, is making sure we really match the slope and try to treat it like a flat golf shot. So for instance, with a downhill lie, putting more weight on the front foot and getting that club moving down a little quicker. And what this is really going to help us do is to really have the golf ball interact with the club the same way it would if we were hitting off a flat lie. And hopefully we counteract a little bit of this start direction that is going to be varied by the type of hill we're on. And the best thing we can do with these different lies is to really practice them before we actually have to encounter them on the golf course. So if you're on the range, try to find a little hill and try to hit some golf balls off of them in different ways. Try to see how the ball reacts to the club and try to see how your weight has to change and how much it needs to change in order to see the desired ball flight outcome that you're looking for. And the most important thing to keep in mind with these shots is executing with confidence. So a lot of students, they might have a certain miss that they are really trying to avoid, and they get on these lies where their miss is going to be over exaggerated, and they start to panic a little bit, and maybe they're worried that they might see a bigger exaggeration of the miss that they are trying to avoid, and they might get a little scared, they might get a little tentative with this golf shot. We need to execute the shot just like we would a flat lie. So we want the same level of club head speed. We want to make the adjustment that we want to make pre-swing, and then we want to attack the golf ball the exact same way. And just don't worry about the miss. Just know that you've made the right adjustment, trust your adjustment, and execute the shot. And so that is going to conclude our video on weight distribution and balance. So if you had any questions, anything that you wish I covered, or anything that you want me to cover in the future, please drop those in the comments. I'd love to hear about those. And as always, let's play for par.